Hey, this is Sam Black, and today I'm going to be playing with a different version of Lantern Control than the one I wrote about earlier. This is informed by a pair of recent League finishes on Magic Online by user Goldcat, I think. Their list incorporates Glint Nest Crane as well as a few cards that I'm not using, but I think Crane is really interesting. This deck is very much focused on getting Ensnaring Bridge and Lantern of Insight into play together with either Codex Shredder, Ghoul-Caller's Bell, or Pyxis of Pandemonium, ideally multiples. And Ancient Stirrings has been the card that has held this deck together and allowed it to function. And Glint Nest Crane, while more expensive, and it doesn't see as many cards and can't find lands, so it's quite a bit worse, but it is kind of like having even more copies of the best possible effect, basically. And the 1/3 flying body is actually very relevant in a few important matchups. Flying blockers with power are especially good against Infect and Affinity. So I'm pretty optimistic about Glint Nest Crane. The list that I got it from also used a 7th main deck discard spell, Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, no Ghost Quarter, 2 Mishra's Baubles, and it did not have Surgical Extraction, didn't have Ghost Quarter, didn't have Crucible of Worlds, did have a Spellskite, didn't have a 3rd Abrupt Decay. So it was different from where I'm at. It had 1 less Needle, but basically I like the Crane. I think that Crucible of Worlds is a better finisher than Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. With Inventor's Fair, you can get Crucible, and then you can use Crucible to loop Inventor's Fair to get a hard lock very quickly. And I think that that is the end game that I want most right now. Tezzeret does end games very quickly, and the life gain is nice, and when you're playing the blue and black mana to support Crane and the discard spells anyway, it's a tempting card to include, but I think it's unnecessary, and I think that, like, if I'm going to play an additional clunky, like a clunky card that doesn't help me early, I think Crucible is a better use of that slot. I wrote in my article about why I don't like Mishra's Bauble. I think that it's better with Inventor's Fair, and I think it's a reasonable card to consider, but I'm still assuming that it's not great, so I didn't want to play those. I can understand not playing Surgical Extraction main, but I don't think that that's where I want to be. I still expect a lot of Dredge, and I like having answers to it main, and I've generally just been pretty happy with the amount of utility just across the board that Surgical has. It's kind of subtle and hard to pin down, but it just is a card that consistently finds a way to do something that I care about. But it's easy to look at the list and imagine Surgical and think that it's not well positioned and cut it. But I'm not at the point where I'd want to do that. So the list is basically pretty true to where I've been, but with the addition of Glint Nest Crane and reworking the mana a little bit. Moving away from Seagate Wreckage, which I'm pretty sad about, but I think that Crane and Crucible give me the late game that, and Inventor's Fair give me the late game that Seagate Wreckage was giving me before. So this change also involved finally getting rid of Pyrite Spellbomb, which I'm hoping I can get away with. I do like the flexibility that Pyrite Spellbound provides a lot, but I don't know that it's strictly necessary, and I think it might just be one of those things that gives me a feeling of safety, because I know that it can do things that I don't actually really need it to do all that often. Like it can actually destroy an Inkmoth Nexus, which Abrupt Decay can't, but I have a Ghost Quarter and Pithing Needle to answer it, and just similar spots where there's another way to deal with most of the problems that it's addressing. So I think it's okay to not have it. One of the things that's nice about it is that it gives you a way to kill any number of things by getting it back with Academy Ruins, whereas Abrupt Decay is theoretically a one-time use thing, so you can only kill 3 creatures ever with it, except that's not really true, because while it's a lot more work, you can eventually just Codex Shredder back Abrupt Decay and then get back Codex Shredder with Academy Ruins. So the deck still does have the ability to reuse its removal spells and all of its spells given a long enough time frame, and it's very good at creating that long time frame. So I'm gonna try without Pyrite Spellbomb, but I'm a little cautious about it. So then I also moved away from the red cards in the sideboard. Losing Pyroclasm, I decided to replace it with Collective Brutality. I've said that I don't like Collective Brutality very much in the past, which is still true. I think it's not a very good card main deck, but I do acknowledge that it's one of the best things you can possibly have against burn, and also pretty good against a few other decks. Probably pretty good against most Collected Company decks, and serviceable against Dark Confidant decks. And if you play against a sorcery-based combo deck where you just want every possible discard spell, it is something you can technically bring in. And then I have the 4th Abrupt Decay taking the spot of the Ancient Grudge. I thought about a second Nature's Claim, which I think is what I wrote in my article that I would replace it with, but I realized that I'm concerned about Chalice the Void. I want more 2-mana answers to that, so another Abrupt Decay does that, while also making up for some of the decrease in creature removal from removing Pyrite Spellbomb. Glintnest Crane inspired me to cut a Grafdigger's Cage for a Tormod's Crypt, because I'm worried that Crane to find Grafdigger's Cage is too slow against Dredge, whereas Crane to find Crypt is more likely to be fast enough. Yeah, that's basically what is going on that is different from my last article about Lantern Control. So I'm looking forward to trying this out. I'm really optimistic about Crane, and still very interested to see how Lantern is really positioned right now. So let's get to it.